So hi, we are here at Digital Live session regarding streaming mechanisms and possibilities. Today's lessons we're gonna kind of do an overview of different protocols that we can use. If you don't know what that means, that's fine right now. Software that we can use, hardware that we can use in order to optimally stream what we want to stream in the web environment. Yeah. So let's just start with, I guess, a little bit of the base, a little bit of an overview of maybe evolution of streaming and how we got to where we were today. Because even, was it last year or so? It was 2019. I remember having a meeting, in-person meeting, and two of the colleagues couldn't make it, and we're like, well, how do we include them? And there was this thought. It was like, well, we can do speakerphone. Someone took their phone out. It was like, I'm like, that doesn't work. Like we can't understand like what that person's saying. It was like not loud enough and stuff. And I'm always like the technological, like, well, let's find a tech solution for this. But it's always sometimes too not advanced, but like not enough in the general public's hands to actually like, oh, we can actually use that and be useful with it, right? So I was like, let's just use, I think it was Skype, or was it Google Meet when it first came out, or kind of like first started to make its appearance. And I was like, okay, we'll just put them on Google Meet. And it was just hell trying to get people to actually do it, right? But we know the pandemic has taught us all to use Zoom, at least, if that's not the only thing it has helped us with. And by using these technologies and the general public using the technologies, it's given us access points where we probably wouldn't have them before. Because of that forced, well, you're going to have to do your class, or you're just going to have to do your meeting, and you're going to have to do teleconferencing because that's what we have and we have to use that. So that learning curve has already been expended. Great for us, because that means that we have many more people that have access to these things, and therefore we can leverage them to whatever advantage we want. Let me go back. There was something about, oh yeah, there was a Zoom discussion back in February that, now I can't remember who put it on. The Canadian, there's a Canadian theatrical conference, and they had Mark Caniglia. Yeah, I think so. It was like a big conference that they put together. It was fabulous.
Yeah, talking about, I'm involved with that. I don't know. To go on, I'm involved with that one.
Yeah, it was like a really great series because they got a whole bunch of theater technicians on board, and or designers or choreographers or whatever, and they had discussions. And one was with Mark Caniglia, he's the developer of Isadora, and he was talking about way back in 1990, like 4-ish, they did a coast to coast interactive installation where they dialed a number on one coast, and it actually displayed on like a small CRT or some sort of display where you can see the other coast, but it wasn't through the internet. It was through some other kind of protocol and device. And they were doing that back then. Like there was a screen with video that was being transmitted from the other coast to California, and I can't remember where he was, whatever. And it got me thinking, it's like, wow, that's like kind of old technology. And now we're just coming up to par with, well, it's the same idea. We're just using maybe different ways of accomplishing that same thing that's been around. But the differentiation is that when they were doing it, it was the geeky people that had the access, right? It's the people who are like really the nerds, like plugging wires in and like having the access to whatever the protocol they were using to send the message and to receive it. And they can only get it from a certain place. But now it's so widespread that it doesn't matter. Anybody with a laptop, anybody with, you know, here we have internet on all our devices all around. Totally easy to plug and play, like enough. So I said that like 4 different ways, but here we are. And there are still some barriers between streaming an actual performance that makes more sense. Like I think we get stuck a lot of the time. I've seen performances get stuck in the Zoom boxes. So you have, everybody has a separate little window and then we just broadcast this. That's good for some things, but is it really your idea? That's the question. Is that really like what you decide that this is the end result that you would want, right? And if that's yes, it's easy. You use Zoom, you press the little whatever button down here that says, you know, send the stream to here and here and here, and you're good. But what happens when you're like, actually, I don't want it like that. I want it to be different. And I came up with a couple of different ways to try to help that, like in the design space of things. Like what happens if I want to take all these little boxes and I want to just merge them into one screen and everybody's overlapped on the same screen? Like, is that possible? And it is possible. It's sometimes clunky because the software wasn't made to do that. So you have to kind of like, you know, use some Scotch tape to put things together sometimes because they weren't intended for that purpose. So I'm going to show you a couple of pieces of software that have helped me do streaming performances. As you saw with Isadora media server software, you can use that as your source. So if I decided instead of showing you my face, I would show you like whatever this is. Let me see, I have so many instances of OBS right now, it's going to drive me nuts, but which one are you seeing? You're seeing this one. Oh, forgive me. Okay, so can you see that? So like now you're not seeing my face, you're seeing a performance I did yesterday as part of XFest and everything. Because I'm running, and I'm going to show you the difference. I'll show you. So where is it? Okay, so there you guys are, right? I'm going to show you my screen, my whole screen, so then you can actually see what's going on. So, oops, you cannot minimize the when you're recording. Well, that is a problem. Can make it that big though. I can kind of put you guys over here. I can put you over here. Okay, now I can see you. So this right here, you can see this, and you can pin this if you want to see the full. Or I can spotlight it, I guess. If you notice, I really hate Zoom, and I've not got into all the configurations of the Zoom because I just try to avoid it like the plague half the time. That's my own problems. You can do whatever you need to do. Spotlight for everyone. All right, cool. So this program here is, with all the weird things in it, is called OBS. And I'm going to see if I can get something that's really blank right now. Okay, cool. Stay. This is called OBS. And OBS stands for Open Broadcast System. And it's a free downloadable software application for Mac and PC. And basically what it does is that you can configure, kind of like Isadora, it's kind of like a media server. You can configure scenes that use different sources in order to design what your video, you know, the way your video you would want the video to look like. beyond that, it's also a great place to get things from. So sources to come in, right? But also it is inherently a streaming software, so it can send it out. And if you go here in the settings, in the stream settings, it supports multiple services. So right now we have YouTube, Twitch, Facebook Live, Restream, Twitter, and there's also something, custom. So you can define, if you had like a custom server, you put your server information in here in your stream key and then click apply, and that would be your service. Right now, I'm going to just show you a little bit of YouTube streaming, just because it's maybe easier. I'm not going to actually stream out to YouTube right now, but if you, these are my kids' videos. If you go to YouTube and you go to this create and you go to go live, right? So you wanted a live video to happen. It brings you up to the, oh yeah. Come on. There we go. So, and you'd put in your information here about your stream. Say testing. I can say, no, it's not for kids, and that will bring you into this window. And down here you have stream URL, backup server URL, stream key, and all the other settings that we can go over later. But right now we're just going to pay attention to the stream key, because in OBS, we just copy it for a sec. If you go back to OBS, not that one, this one, there, it's already configured for the YouTube service. You don't have to put the server in because it already understands what those configuration. If it's weird, then you do custom, but you don't have to. Just keep it on YouTube and keep it at whatever default they have here, YouTube primary ingest server. And then you just paste in your stream key here, right? And you say apply.
Hey, Callie, this is great, but I just want you to know I can't read any of the words.
Where?
On what you're showing on the screen.
Okay.
I can read the bold print at top where it says preview.
Is it
program,
backwards?
but the rest of it is just,
or is
no,
it
it's just super duper blurry.
Small. Oh, it's blurry.
The resolution is bad so it's hard to read.
Yeah, like the letters.
Okay.
For me, they look like blur.
The what?
No, the letter.
The letters, you can't see a thing. Yeah.
No, I have an idea, but it's kind of blurred for me, at least.
Okay. Let me see what we got here. It's on HD. Wonder if I can maybe switch it. Let me switch it. Let me try to do a screen share instead and see if that works better.
Yeah, it should be like the share screen.
Yeah.
That's
Is it much better? Okay, so it's
So
not
much
going
better.
through 3 things in order to see it. Yeah, got it. Now I
Oh,
can't,
Thank you.
I cannot figure out which one you're seeing. Hold on. I think you're seeing the correct one. No, there's
No,
2
Callie-
instances of OBS
Callie,
right now. Yeah.
I can show you if you can.
Okay, 2 blacks. Good. That's the one I want you to see. Fabulous.
Now I can perfectly read.
Okay. Sorry about that. You should have told me way sooner. I had no idea.
I thought that it was my glasses because I'm kind of like short.
Oh, no.
No, it tends to, the other times you've also shared through that other method, it tends to be blurry, like when you were doing it.
Yeah. 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 Okay.
This is a lot sharper.
Yeah. Okay. And I'll just have to like toggle back and forth, but all right. So now you can see, now we're going to go back to settings so you can actually see. There you go. All right. You can actually see what I was doing. So YouTube service in the server, you keep it there, and then you paste your stream key that you got from the YouTube place, which usually is here, and it's usually obfuscated, so you can't see it, but you can also like turn it on to see it. Press the copy button, go to OBS, go to your settings, and put it in the stream tab. There's multiple tabs. Put, paste that in, copy paste that in there and press apply. So now we have a black screen. We have no source. And I have it on studio mode, which I tend to like better because I can, queue up something over here, but it's not quite live yet over here. That's why you have the two screens. You can turn studio mode off and it only shows you like, oh, it's live. Then you're like, that was the wrong one. So studio mode gives you a nice opportunity to make a different decision if you need to, because the left side is your preview and the right side is your actual thing that you're throwing out into YouTube. We can just say, okay, well, I'll go through sources in a minute. I have multiple types of sources here. We can say, well, we'll show the Isadora screen with it's also a window capture. That's so weird. I don't know why I did that. Anyway, with Isadora screen in the small, it should be a person there instead of that, but it's fine. And we're going to just click on start streaming. Now that sends the video now up to that server on my top YouTube. And on the bottom here of OBS, it says, it should say live. If it has a problem, it will tell you. It was like, hey, can't connect here. Why don't you, try something different? And it will let you know also, how many frames per second you're actually streaming at. If it's 30, and that's what it's set at in the other setting we'll go through later. That's great. You can see how many kilobytes per second it's sending, how much your CPU, which is it's basically your processor, like how taxed your processor is. So right now it's at 5%. That's really good. You're not overloading anything. This thing here is the golden nugget of like drop frames. And the ultimate goal is to have 0 drop frames forever. And drop frames are just like intermittent interruptions in the stream. Oh, Riley's here. Okay. Intermittent interruptions in the stream. See how it says 209. See, that's bad now. We have 209 drop frames. That means my connection is something, not sure. Anyway, so we can go back to YouTube to see, there it is. Now this is not quite live yet, because we did not press that button. Pretty sure we didn't. If we did, I didn't mean to. Oh, we did. I didn't press the button, no. I'm going to end that. For some reason, there might have been a default setting I forgot to check off. Should just show you a preview. And then when you press go live, it should just show you a preview, and then you press live here to get to it.
Like, how do you get to studio mode?
Okay, that's a good question. Let's go back. Let's just go to YouTube. You're in your YouTube. You have all your kids' videos there. Wait. Then you go to create. There's one way of doing it. Go to create and then go to go live. And that will bring you to studio mode.
I actually meant in OBS, like the side by side.
Oh yeah. It's
I have an older version because my computer is on an older operating system, but I know I've done it before.
Yeah, it's like the most obvious thing ever. I've searched for this thing, no joke, for an hour and then realized it was the simplest thing ever. It's right here. Can you see that?
Where?
Down the bottom right. It's like not even in a setting. It's like a button that's actually there that you can toggle off and on.
I got it. And if I want to change the layout, because right now it's, do you know if there's a way to change the layout?
Yeah, you basically drag, like kind of in Premiere Pro or Adobe Systems or wherever, there you just take the little boxes and move them around as you wish. And you can also, make them smaller or bigger depending. And you can also go up and down with these ones. So you can make them like, if you have lots of things, you can just do that. You have smaller things, you can do that.
I actually mean like mine looks like this.
Oh, let me see. Hold on. Let me make you bigger.
This might be
Make it
something I
bigger.
can figure out later.
Oh. Mm. Oh, you mean it's top to bottom instead of side to side?
Yeah, is that in
Okay.
my preferences or?
It could be in, where did I find the view? I wonder if, let me see a second. No, you can't drag and drop them. I never had that happen to me. I have no idea. But I'm sure it's like in the view.
I can mess around with it. I was just messing around with the preferences, trying to find it. So I may have
Yeah, probably like
but
check.
it's
checked
fine.
out something.
That I can figure out.
Yeah, I think it's probably one of those things. It's like somewhere in a setting.
I found it. It's in preferences. It's the middle
Okay.
button.
Figures.
Can I ask you something?
Yeah.
Two things. I missed the part where when there is the window where you choose where you're going and you chose YouTube, and then you put a link. Where did you
Mhm.
get that link?
Let's do it again. So here, this is YouTube
Yeah.
and stream key.
And where did you get that one?
And then you press copy because next to it, because it's going to hide. So you're just going to press copy.
Okay, you get it from there.
Mm-hmm. And then you go back to OBS and in the settings, which you can get to from here or up here. I like here because it's easier. You go to stream because that's what we're doing. And I can't paste it right now because we're already sending. It won't let you configure that unless I stop. So you would paste it into this box here.
I have a second question.
Yeah.
You're doing like a right away stream. What about if I'm using Isadora and I'm like creating I have like I'm getting live source
Mhm.
and I want to like do like a composition in the moment, but I would like to do is like live streaming, but with a delay of 10 minutes to have time to do crazy stuff and then to like, you see, like not to do it like directly, just to have a little few minutes. I can do the stuff, I can compose it and then release it. Is that possible? Or you just do it like right away versus like prepare stuff in advance?
There is a setting I've never actually touched because I've always wanted it super live. I never wanted the delay in it. Let me see where it is. Might be in video. Nope. There is a delay for audio. I know that. Here it is, stream delay in advanced. Delaying stream is a little bit taxing on the system because it has to kind of hold it somewhere. So the longer the time frame you need to hold it, the more processing tax you're going to have in your computer. So here is your stream delay and you can enable this. And this is, you know, the duration here, and you can put any amount of seconds in there you would want, but just be conscious of the processing of the computer. And I can tell you one thing, and I forgot to even mention this. Right now I'm using one computer. In the past, when I've tried to mix on one computer and stream on that same computer, my CPU kind of goes, it taxes it a lot because it's doing multiple processes at once. I found that the most optimal setup when you're doing a lot of mixing and like configuring video is to have two computers.
So one computer does the job of Isadora and the other one is releasing the streaming? Something like that?
And for that, I use this guy to go between the two. This is the capture card, and I think maybe I've said, and also there's the other one. think the other one is over. Ah, I don't know where it is. It went away. The other one I had was also useful, the Intensity Shuttle, which is probably in that box up there. These are video capture cards. And what you do is you take the output of the HDMI and you put it into here, and then, oops, this way. This is the USB out. So that will just be an input into the other computer. And so all that other computer needs to do is take the HDMI out and then manage the streaming. So in essence, if you have one powerful computer and one like not so powerful computer, use the powerful computer to do the mixing, but then use the not so powerful computer to do the stream out. And then therefore you'll have like, it's just easier to manage too, because then you have two screens and like it's kind of space to manage it all. If that makes any sense. Yes or no?
And we need that like stuff like to be in between the two computers. We cannot go one computer to another directly.
I mean,
What is the name
there
of-
are ways. It would just be more complicated. This
What
is the easier
the name of
way. This is called a video capture card. And this is made by Elgato. Not very focused, is it? It's the HD60S, which is one, I think they only have one. So this is the one. This can take up to like 4K video. Previously it was only 1080p, but this one can take up to 4K. Think at 60p. That seems really high, but I think it can do 4K up to 60p. But this is like something that I use for my cameras, and I use it to connect computers. Anything that has an HDMI out that you want to take in somewhere else. Those things are very, very useful. That one I think cost $130 or $120. So it's a good price point. I mean, it's not cheap, but if you use things like that a lot, it makes it worth it versus trying to pack everything onto one computer.
So does it kind of works like just making it another monitor input?
Yeah, not a,
Like reverse?
yeah, reverse, because you can't do an HDMI in. No computer has HDMI in. There's no such thing as that. There's HDMI out, you can send it, but you can't like plug another computer into the HDMI port. It doesn't work that way. It only goes out.
Yeah.
So
What is the what's the input for the streaming computer?
USB, just like a webcam. It treats it like a webcam device. And I can show you, right? I can show you the software that comes with that.
So this is helpful because the only other way I've known to connect to computers through Ethernet, and I've never ventured into doing
It
that.
gets, yeah, it's super complicated and like I have never really, yeah. But this is like the interface. Now it's not plugged in, so it doesn't see anything. But if it was plugged in, this is the interface that Elgato would give you. And you'd see a preview of whatever you're sending it here. You don't have to use this utility, but sometimes to check on it, you know, it's helpful. You can take it straight into OBS and it can be another source. And I think that, you see.
I have a complicated question and a simple question.
Okay.
For the capture card, could you, if you had multiple, could you use multiple from like bringing multiple computers in as multiple sources to your streaming?
Yeah, because all they are to the other computer is just USB inputs. So as long as the computer can take in that many USB inputs, it's no different than plugging in a webcam. Because it's just pixel data. It's not any processing, additional processing to it. It's just the picture.
Got it. And then just to go back to the like studio mode with the preview and the program, how do you actually hit G-O.
How do you hit go? Well, ideally, see what happened was kind of weird because that's never happened before. Usually you say start streaming. And I usually say start
But
recording.
when I'm not in studio mode, like I can do it, but in studio mode, it's not working. No, not
Oh, to go
streaming,
from
like
one to
going
the
in
other.
between scenes.
Yeah, to go from one from your preview to your display.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, cool. If you click on a scene, right? So
Yeah,
we're on
sorry,
scene
it's just
4.
not working.
Right.
Yes.
Watch what happens. So if you click on scene 4, scene
Okay.
4 on the left is a preview, right? For me, it's black. Screen right is program, and that's probably not even scene 4. It's something else up here. Well, I want to do scene 4. So you click on transition, and it should like flip it over to the other side. The transition button in the middle. There should be a transfer. I don't know. Do you see it?
Callie,
Okay.
Callie, another question.
Mhm.
For me, it's all new world. Have you tried like using the Zoom system, like getting the screen, I mean, the shot that you get from each person? Let's say we are here, and each of us has a camera. I mean, I move like that. I am on one of the sources, and then Naomi is another one, and then so on. Each one of us. Have you used that as a source of Isadora?
You
So we
can. And I haven't got there just quite yet, but yes, that's the ultimate goal, is to get like, we all want individual screen. We want individual streams of each person that calls in, right? That is the ultimate goal for the most part. We don't want them in boxes anymore. We want to take them out of the boxes and use them. It gets tricky with Zoom because Zoom doesn't allow you, as far as my knowledge goes, to take, okay, Marsha's stream, like, how do I get it? I can't. So the workaround to that is, we're just going to take this into consideration. Oops. Okay. So see how you guys, can you see that? Very small. You guys are on the side here. Okay, that's in my OBS, in my preview. And what you can do, it's, I'm getting so messed up. There we go. Display capture. Okay, cool. I am basically capturing display number 2 in my office right now. I have my main monitor, and I have a monitor. That's why I keep looking up, because that's my monitor that you can't see. Can you see? Can't see that. Okay, cool. So, well, I can take that and put it out to YouTube, and you have all the boxes. Or I can take where it says display capture, and I can add, well, first of all, I can say, let's take Naomi first. You can use the, forget what button it is. Function, no, Alt. So on a PC, it's Alt. I'm not sure what it is on a Mac, but you can use the Alt if you hold down the Alt key, and you can drag the little doodads in. I can crop out what I want as one source, right? And then I can expand that.
Drag and drop.
You drag and drop?
On a Mac, you just drag. It might be a right key, but
it's interesting. Just if I drag it, we'll resize it. So to crop it, it's holding down a key.
Yeah, but the problem is that, like, the way you are doing it now, you're getting Naomi from gallery view, and the quality.
No. Yeah, well, gallery view, because I'm sharing the screen. If I wasn't sharing the screen, I would have you on full view, and it would be chopped up into bigger boxes, and the quality would be a little bit better, although it's not full HD.
No, but
yeah.
Like, I was thinking, like, you might need maybe more than one computer to use Isadora to get like a better quality of the screen, because you can use like the speaker view, and because I think there is up to 3 people you can get HD and Zoom. And then when you have more people, it gets standard resolution. So I don't know. I was just throwing the idea how to do it, but maybe to work with Isadora, you will need more than one computer in the same Zoom session, or no?
Yeah, possibly. I've done that before where I use Zoom. I'm like one Zoom person to do one thing, and then I'm another Zoom person to do another. Possibly. Now there is a workaround, and it doesn't require, well, there's some technologies I'm going to show you now. We can find this technology is made by a company called Liminal, which was birthed during the pandemic, so like super new. And they've created something called Zoom OSC 4. And I've played around with it, but it got clunky, and I haven't really continued to play around with it. But it essentially, what it does is it's a controller for Zoom using something called the protocol called OSC. OSC stands for Open Sound Control. And OSC is a pretty useful protocol because it can work over IP, it can work over internal network, it can work within the same machine. So it can be like super local in your machine. It could be peer-to-peer within a closed network. So it could be like this computer and that computer via Ethernet and a, what do you call it? Yeah, router. Or it could be over IP, which means if I can get the IP address of the person across the world, I can send that signal to the other one, and it controls their whatever they decide to hook OSC into on the other side. This seems like promising solution for a lot of things because it does kind of alleviate the manual nature of having to like draw your little boxes and whatever. It actually says, okay, this is source 1 is Marcia, and source 2 is Jessica, and source 3 is Mariela, right? And so then it's a controller to control all of these things and taking them in and putting them out. Again, I haven't really experimented too much with it, but it seems like very promising in that way. I do have to say that when I did something in last year, April, I had a sound artist who was sending me sound, and he was also sending me visuals. I had a dance artist who was sending me footage from her phone, and that was propped up on a bookshelf in a living room. And I needed separate sources. I wanted one of the person that was in their living room, and I wanted another from his computer. And the way I accomplished that was that I had 2 instances of OBS running at the same time. The person with the bookshelf I was Skyping with, which is like the weirdest thing in the world to say right now. But Skype has this option to capture individual people, like individual full frames as different sources via another protocol called NDI. If that makes any sense, please stop me because I'm like, that's a lot. That was the only way I could figure out to get multiple sources in full frame was using Skype with NDI. And it seems bizarre, but it worked and it was perfectly manageable. And the beauty about NDI is when you go into Isadora, there is something called an NDI watcher. So right now, oh my God, I didn't even know where that came from. Oh, that's the, see what it does. NDI watcher basically just identifies any NDI signals being thrown at the computer, and it lists it here in this menu. So you can just take it directly. You don't even need to go through OBS. So you just have Skype open, it gives, it like sends an NDI signal in your computer. You grab it with the NDI watcher and you throw it into whatever, you know, patch you want to do with Isadora. I could also use what I did with the other person in the stream is he decided he wanted to stream to Twitch, and then I was taking the Twitch stream down, which was like a little bit of a nightmare, but you could do that as well. You could say, I don't know, browser, pick something like even this, you know, put this in the browser. Okay, there it is. Here's my browser window, right? And then now it's an OBS. But say I wanted to get the OBS sources in the transition. Say I want to get this source over to Isadora, right? Okay, there's a couple plugins that I have here that are not native to OBS. One is called NDI output. The other one is Spout, which is relative only to Windows computers. If you have a Mac computer, it would be Siphon. But this one is using NDI, which is cross-platform, the same thing. So NDI, cross-platform protocol, you can use them both operating systems perfectly fine. And the other is called Spout, and Spout is Windows only. The Mac version of that is called Siphon. But right now we're just going to look at NDI. Did I not install it? Oh, no, it's here. Main output. I'm going to call it Zoom window browser. Okay, and I click off of main output. You can also do preview too, but I just want this side. I don't want this side. And press OK. And then I go back into Isadora. And here it is, Zoom browser window browser. And then you can have, here we go. So here's our stage. And I don't have Skype running right now, so I can't show you that. But in the Skype environment, you'd also use another NDI watcher. But instead of using that source, you just pick a different source and run your patches the way that you would want it. No, you can't see the difference now. It's the same thing, but it's basically one overlaid on top of the other into our stage. Can you see that small stage? Because it's like super small. So I'm just routing it directly. And then I would have another OBS instance. So, oh, sorry, I forgot to accomplish one more thing. So you're in Isadora, you're like, yes, I want this weird thing as my output to stream, right? But you can't put it back into where you just came from. You have to go out. So what I do is that I have two instances of OBS running at the same time. One for my inputs and then one for my outputs. And to do that, it's as simple as you open up OBS like you normally would do, you know, from here. And then you put another shortcut on the desktop and you open the first one up, open the second one up, and it says something like, oh, warning, you're already running this. Do you want to continue? And you say, yes, I want to continue. And then therefore you have, let's see if I can get them smaller so you can see them better. 1 and 2. I have, let's go left to right instead of right to left. So now I have my input side and my output side of OBS. This is getting the input. It's going over to Isadora and mixing it together with something, you know, who knows what. In my Isadora patch, I'm going to go to output, I'm going to stage setup. In Windows, that Spout thing we talked about, that Spout thing is here. Or you can use NDI, but I feel like it slows the computer down when you do that. So I usually use Spout out. You click off this box, Spout. That's in your output stage setup there. So when you go back to the second instance of OBS, this is the second one. This is your out. This is the thing that's going to control your stream. I'm just going to add. I'm going to add it from scratch. This is my spout scene. I'm going to say plus. I'm going to say spout capture, create new. Okay. I'm going to say Isadora stage 1. Sometimes it takes a while to kick in. Sometimes you have to press the button a couple times, but it'll eventually be there. Now it's like super feedbacky because yeah, it's like too many layers for it to handle right now. So, and here's my output. Why is it? Oh. Okay, it's a little less feedbacky right now, just because we're using these particular sources and not because of anything else. Maybe we should put like that file again and then turn this off.
Kelly, so when you did your show last year, you were getting from Skype just one person.
Yeah, but I could have done 2. I don't know why we did it that way. I have no idea why. It's like we just decided that's what we're gonna do for no apparent reason whatsoever.
But then sorry, then you were saying that Skype, because me actually I have not used Skype in a while because everything is Zoom lately.
Yeah,
so I don't know how much they have improved, because I think this last year all the like a conference kind of a tech has been improved a lot. So you were saying that Skype you can capture individually.
Yep.
But we're talking about the capturing you do with the Skype, because usually Skype and Zoom, when you do capturing, the actual recording, you just get it after the session is over.
Right, but there's something in Skype that's called NDI.
Okay.
And NDI is the protocol that transfers the information in the local computer, in the network local computer, or actually only in the local or the network local. And it will go straight into Isadora. You don't have to go through OBS at all for that, which means you could theoretically pull it in Skype, use one instance of OBS to send out, and you're good.
So you're using the camera of Skype to use the word right away. You don't need to wait until you get the information, because usually I know in Zoom I do capturing, but then I get the recording in the cloud afterwards.
Oh yeah, no, you don't have to wait. It's live. You'll get that as soon as you enable. It's in the advanced settings in Skype. And as soon as you enable that, it starts to send a stream in your computer via NDI of that frame. The only limitation I can see of it is it puts a little logo down the bottom. So what I've done is just cropped it out. You're not supposed to do that. Really not supposed to do that legally. So I'm not, I'm just saying I've maybe done it. Crop it out so then you have like most of your frame, just like a little bit not off on the bottom, right? Which is better than like trying to crop it in OBS and these little squares from Zoom. That's yeah.
NDI system in Skype allows you to like still what they are capturing at the moment, and you think, I mean, you are sure that you can do it for
full frame.
For at least 2 people individually,
if not more.
Okay, how many people can you get into Skype now, or it's like Zoom now?
I think it's like Zoom now. I think that it's quite a few people that you can actually chat with, and each one of them will have individual. Now it just depends on the processing, of your computer, how much it can handle full frame,
Oh, okay, so with that and advanced setting, you can like get this information on the spot. That's fabulous.
I know. But
Okay.
every time I ask on the internet, people are like, what? And I'm like, no, this is how, and then they're like, well, I don't know about that. I'm like, well, how else are you going to do it? And they never have an answer for me. And I was like, well, it works for me. I know
So
it's not cool to use Zoom, Skype anymore, but it seems to work.
But then with that, you can with Isadora, if you have 3 or 4 more dancers, you can avoid the
boxing.
The rectangle thing and get each person individually, and you can do a performance.
Exactly.
That's great. Okay, we resolved the problem now.
Yeah, that as well as, and I'm going to show you one more option that is Riley here, or is he just listening? I think he might be listening. Yeah, he's here, he's listening. We've used with Riley, which is another option, and it's also free. I'm getting very confused as to which screen that you're seeing. It's bizarre. I think it's this one. So I'm going to minimize this one, and I'm going to shut this down for a second.
Callie, before you go on to option 3, I'm not sure if I fully understood.
I know it's hard.
It was a lot. I feel like I need a flow chart of the things that you did, because you had 2 OBS studios going on, and each all the input in one, and then you selected that output in the second OBS studio. Is that what you did?
No, well, yes, actually. Well, depending on how you want to work it. You can go directly straight into the second OBS studio, or you can go down into Isadora and then back into the second instance. Does that make sense? It's like, yeah, you're right. In order to understand this as a visual spatial person, I had to draw it out on a piece of paper. When I was designing it, I had a graph piece of paper and I drew little boxes, and I was like, OBS1, OBS2, Skype, output, stream, display monitor, in case I needed that. And then I drew little, wires to kind of connect them, and it helped a lot to understand it, because otherwise it gets a little bit confusing.
You can draw it with the settings of Zoom.
Oh,
here, like in the top, like you get the options of drawing. And so
I don't know if I enabled that on this one though. Annotate, yeah. Oh, cool. Look at that. Can you see my screen? What screen do you see? A black one, or do you see icons?
Both.
Okay, black with icons. Cool. Yeah, well, that's really cool. I did not know that. All right. Yeah, it would probably be better to just get a piece of paper, put some Photoshop up here, just to make it super clear, because when we go into the next version, it's somewhat similar, probably less problematic, but depends on how we're gonna. So, okay. So if we have something like this, where you have, let me see, how's the easiest way to do it? No, probably not. OBS 1, right? And then you have OBS 2, and you have, let's say it's one from Skype, right? And then one other source from webcam, maybe your own webcam, and I'm going to arrange these in a second. And then you have the output of YouTube stream. Cool. So we know that the YouTube stream is your ultimate goal. Your OBS 1. Oh, we have Isadora, sorry. Okay. So your OBS 1, that's taking care of OBS one is taking care of the inputs, right? Such as, well, actually, no, Skype can be its own thing because this is Skype with NDI. Skype with NDI. OBS is your input. Maybe my husband is also doing a class downstairs. Let me know if it's distracting. And your OBS 2 is your output to your YouTube stream. Your Isadora is in the middle of these two things, which could include either the Skype with NBI or your webcam, right? So if you, this is going to go here, and then this is going to go here, and then this is going to go out to there. Does that make more sense? And these things, depending on, this can go, you know, this can go into there, or it can go into here. This can go into here. It also can go to here, but there's no real reason to do that, right? So it can go directly into Isadora, it can go directly into Isadora, and then goes out to OBS 2, and then that streams out. Now, OBS 2 could be just a different computer too. I mean, that's where the other computer kind of comes in helpful, because now you have two machines, not one machine trying to process all this at once. Does that make better sense, Jessica? Yeah.
Kelly,
Yep.
if you can go from Skype and webcam directly to Isadora, why do you need the OBS one?
Well, you don't necessarily if you want to just use the Skype, because that kind of just negates OBS 1. But if there's another source that you can't get directly into Isadora, which I'm going to show you in a minute, the reason why you would do this, you need some other way of grabbing it.
Okay.
Okay. So I wanted to move on. If this is clear enough that this is our flow chart of approximately what's going on, we can move on to the second thing that I've had success and with in a performance. Although it wasn't technically a live performance, we've done a lot of rehearsals, and that was with Riley, who's here, but he's listening because he's driving and stuff. And what we used, what we used was something that's free, so open source, and it's called OBS Ninja. I think you just do this. OBS.ninja. Oh, and the annotation thing is there, so I'm gonna reset, clear it. Clear. Okay, cool. OBS Ninja is kind of like a really cool program that I enjoy a lot because you don't have to install anything. You go, it's in browser, right? So I hope I don't have feedback issues. So basically you go here, you create a room, right? And we can say digital live testing. That's the name of our room. It says insecure room name, and do 15678. Yeah, there we go. Password is 1234567 8. And this is creating a place for your stream, people with the stream to go. And you basically remember your room name, remember your password, and then click on enter rooms control center. Now you can say director will perform. Let's say that, say I'm also performing, but you know, I'm feeding into it. And you can also give limited access to your guests in the room. Either they see the director's video or whatever you choose to show them. But we're going to leave that off for now. And this video codec, I would choose default unless you're having trouble with things, because usually the computer understands best, we hope. So we're going to go into the room's control center. Okay, it renamed it, and this is a control center. So let me see if Okay, I'm going to invite a guest. I'm going to invite myself. So I'm going to say copy link. I'm going to go into, or if anybody else wants to know, it could probably be weird if you try. I'm going to go into another browser. I'm going to copy that link. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 was the password. And then I would say join with room camera. And then you can say allow. Yeah, the cameras are really not going to work right now, but because I'm using many of them. It's not going to work. But in essence, oh, in essence, because I have 2 cameras, I should be able to use them. Let me take this one out. That I should be able to select my camera and here. So then if I go to that's my guest. So my guest has this experience. They should have their little, they actually should see their camera, but because I'm using so many things right now, it's not going to work. I'm going to go into the director's view. So like where the control, and we should have guest 1 should have a camera here. It's unfortunate you can't see it though. Should have a camera. Ah, there it is. Yeah, it's going to be weird, but come on. Oh, there it is. Okay, I muted myself. So here's my guest, and here's me. This is my director's thing, and this is the guest. Now, this is the amazing thing is that over down here, you can grab a video source by saying copy solo link, right? From this guest. You go to OBS, which one I don't know. I think it's this one. Right, and you click on plus and you say browser, and you're going to say get, you name it wherever you want, guest, copy that into here, and you should get their feed into a full frame. Now it's doing a weird thing where it's bouncing back and forth, but that's another way of getting multiple sources. So if you had guest 1, you could put guest 1, you know, anywhere you want in this frame here. I mean, this is the, what we call a Mickey Mouse version of it. I'm going to just copy it. Okay. Say you had 2 of them like that. You can put them however you want in here. Transition. Go to NDI output. I'm going to call it this so then I can keep track of it. Go into Isadora. Use your NDI watcher. Bring in 2 sources as your source. Add a crop actor to your source. Mix it however you want. All right, so right now, I don't know if you can see, it looks like OBS, it has 2, but you can do is like do 1, crop it, crop right, crop bottom, and then zoom. And then pan it over, pan it down. So this is your source 1. You do the same. You can put another one there if you want, but I choose, well, actually that makes no sense. I'm going to do this. Use the same source, but out to another output. Let's make something different about it. let's make it a different color so we know the difference. So we're gonna hue offset a lot. Okay, cool. And now we're going to, I'm gonna shut this off so I can see it better. Instead of cropping it on the right, we're gonna crop it on the left. We're not gonna crop the bottom, we're gonna crop the top. It's easier to see when we actually have content here that, you know, you can see the boxes and you can move them around. And then you'll have two sources overlaid on top of each other. But obviously it's really, it's clunky. It's a clunky. So that's another way of doing it, is that you just stick all your sources in one frame. You can make this frame like really big in your preferences, in your settings, and you go to base canvas resolution. You can make that resolution like super big. So you can put like a whole bunch of your sources in there, bring it over to Isadora, crop them out, and each crop is a different source, and you can do it that way as well. So does that make any sense, or is it totally confusing?
I got confused when you were jumping from OBS to Isadora.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So do you remember in the tools and the NDI output settings? Right. So in the output settings, we're going to output this. We're going to output whatever's in this window. And that is going to be our main output. So we're not going to output the preview. We're going to output the main. I like to name it every single time so I can keep track of what's going on. And then magically, or seemingly magically, the NDI watcher. In the NDI watcher, let me expand that so you can see it. Your source should just show up in here. What you just named that NDI output, it should just show up. So this one is, you know, laptop, which is this laptop, and I named it two sources, which is in the brackets. So I'm gonna just check that off as a source. And now this is like treated almost like a camera or like a source of video of some sort. Does everybody understand why I would use the crop in order to get the sources individualized? More or less? No? Marsha's shaking her head like, why would you do that? Or like, why? So if you imagine, let's go to Ninja, I guess. Poor Ninja is having such a hard time with so many video sources. This is my guest. This is not me. This is someone else, right? And unfortunately, because I'm using so many different cameras, maybe it'll let me now. No, it won't let me use that one. Will it let me use that one? Yeah. I mean, it's not the best things. Yeah. What this one? There we go. This is much easier. So this is me. This is not me. This is my guest. Cool. My guest is here. I grabbed their solo link and I went to OBS and I have a solo link in the sources. There's a browser source type. If you go to plus, you go to browser, you get this, and I pasted my solo link into there. You can choose your resolution if we want it to be bigger. Oh dear, my internet is not like that right now. Okay. I'm gonna take this off. Usually you can. I don't know why. Not sure what's going on. Should be able to. Oh, it got disconnected for a second. Okay. So here we are. We have one source here. I can click on this, copy and paste it, or I can grab another person's link like this one, which is me, but that would be weird. But just imagine we can color these differently or something just to make it, let's add a filter to it, some weird thing. Don't know. Color correction, let's make it like different color. It's kind of weird, like bluish. Make one blue. Oh, they're both blue because they're duplicates. Hold on. It should be one blue. Yeah, there we go. One blue and one not blue. Right. So I'm gonna just like bring this as big as I possibly can. Maybe even put them together so it's easy to crop. Transition it over. Go into Isadora. I'm gonna just delete all these settings for now just to get from 0. We know that we cropped, we're gonna crop this one. So, like here on the bottom, we're gonna crop so much. We're gonna crop it like here. I'm gonna turn this off so we can't see it. Make sure this is turned on. What's going on? Should be on the other side. Should be right there. I don't know why. Oh, because I panned it over. Should be 50. Should be 50. It should be 50. All right, cool. 50. Ah, there we go. So I want to crop it left, right? So we don't have the other footage in the way. I want to crop it bottom. Just enough. And then I want to zoom it out, pan it over, pan it down. Now when I turn on, let's add a delay or something different into it so we really see the difference. Video delay. Okay. So if I turn this one on, now we have 2 instances, right? Zoom this one in a bit, pan it over. This is ideally 2 different feeds, right? So now we have delay happening. And when we go back to our second instance of OBS, our spout should capture, there we go. So now we have this that we can now stream out. Is that completely confusing or is that better?
That's better. I think it's
you need real life. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So with that said, I'm going to open this up for like more dialogue because I feel like I've been talking a lot, and I'm going to stop sharing for a second. Oh, and it went away. I don't know what's going on. Hold on a second.
I have another just really simple question, or question that I feel like I should know. So when you're going between scenes in OBS, it's not going in order. Like I have scenes set up from something I was doing and then switch to a different platform. But So if I hit transition from my pre-show to my welcome, it automatically moves my cursor, but then when I try and go from the welcome to the show, it goes back to the pre-show. So I'm just wondering, I'm not sure if I set it up wrong or like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
I totally, I also feel that happens to me a lot. You can use the down arrow buttons. Let me see a second, hold on one sec.
Well, when I'm in studio mode, the down arrow buttons don't like make it go.
No, they don't make it go, but they select the next scene.
Right. I think if I'm not in studio mode, yeah, if I'm not in studio mode, I can just click on the scenes with my cursor. I'm just wondering if I'm missing something or if like maybe somehow I got the setup wrong and it usually works.
Yeah, let's figure this out. Hold on a sec. I can't even get my camera back on. I apologize.
And again,
like
I'm running
biting.
an old version of OBS.
Oh, it's old.
It's 24.0.6. It's
Is
not
that because of your
old.
computer or is it?
Yeah, my computer's running Sierra. I'm getting a new computer that's like running a new operating system. I just have a DVD player and I've been, that's why I'm running Sierra. I don't want to change anything.
I totally understand that. I am just clicking around for a second because usually I usually click on the scene that I want to go to and press transition. Otherwise, it will toggle back to where I came from, if that makes any sense.
It does. Yeah, it does.
It's not the way we want it to.
Okay, I was just wondering if that was something that OBS does, or if I was doing something wrong. Yeah, because it makes it confusing. But if it's just something to work around, then that's fine.
Yeah, I think it's something to work around or build into your flow. Ah, there we go. Hi. Yeah, there we go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would just mean that the operator would really have to know what they're doing. And
yeah, it's hard to like hand it over.
So.
Yeah, handing it over to someone else and you're like, oh, just press the button, whatever button would be so much easier than to be like, you're gonna have to click and then you're gonna have to press this button and then you're gonna have to make sure.
I did see that there was a space to put a hotkey for each scene. Although it seems like you can't just put the space bar, you'd have to like put different hotkeys
for each one.
Or you can put different hotkeys for each one. But I'll play around with it if that's just a video.
Yeah, it's just like a weird thing that OBS has. And I've always just clicked on the thing I wanted, pressed the transition, and it works. I've not trusted it to do it for me in some ways, like the way I want it to go down the list. It'll just go to the one that I came from before.
Mm-hmm.
And doing a show, I've done a couple streaming shows. I've just done everything in Isadora. I cheated. Yeah, I was just like spacebar, spacebar, spacebar. Because it was so much easier.
I went to another thing using NDI to get Zoom to stream, and then I used the Zoom streaming to go through Twitch for the thing I actually did. But I would like to learn OBS.
Yeah,
a little more complicated than it should be.
There is something else called OBS. What is it called? Hold on a sec. OBS. There's like a simpler version of it. That I can't remember what it's called. And I hated it when I installed it. A Streamlabs OBS.
Okay.
And that gets rid of a lot of controls that make things complicated. And they tried to streamline it. So you might want to just try that and see if that works better. In terms of the user interface of it.
Okay. Yeah, I'll look at it because part of my job right now is training students, and they're at a very low learning curve.
Yeah. Oops. Okay, is there anything else? I mean, I can push forward and like keep going and things, but I want to just get a sense of like where is useful to go, or like, should I go back at all?
Me personally, it's hard for me to get all the information. I think we need to practice. Because if not, I mean, there are things that make sense, and other things that just it's hard to get into it. I think we need to go over. But I have a question related, because have you heard about Microsoft Mesh?
Yeah, a little bit.
Like it's like it was released in the United States. I have not released here yet, but use the holographic system live.
Right.
So I think it's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
It's like I think the holograph thing has been around, but it has been too hard to use because it needs too many cameras, too many resources to use. So I think it will get like more simple with the time, and will be more like a democratic use for everybody. But it was released a few months ago. And so there was a comment with the Cirque du Soleil related to have shows with using holographs and so on. So I think it's interesting, like that world, like also related to Isadora, because it makes like a new experience, and not only like to enjoy the visuals, also like to be inside the visuals. It's super interesting. So I was wondering, like that. I mean, that mix with Isadora, I think, will make a new sense of experience of performance.
Yeah, I know. I remember like reading an article or something about it, and I was like, oh, well, that sounds awesome. I just don't know yet about how that works. Yeah, it should be super cool. And even something as simple as that company that I showed you with the OSC Zoom software, they make something called OSC Control, I think, something of that effect. And basically it allows OSC protocol over IP, peer-to-peer, which means like directly from this IP to that IP, so that you can control things on the other side. So how can that be useful? That could be useful for if you have a lighting designer and you have a DMX controllable lights, and you have your DMX to USB box that converts the signal from the USB out, and say your lighting designer has ETC Nomad, but he's in Virginia and you're in Massachusetts. As long as he gets like a feed from the camera, right, he can see she can see what's going on in the live space, that lighting designer can control the lights over IP.
Well, and there are a bunch of programs that do that, at least like RFU controls, but I know you can run a show from anywhere.
Right. But this is like, if it's OSC, Isadora can understand OSC. It's something that it is built into its system. So then you can trigger lights, you can trigger basically anything you can trigger in Isadora using the OSC listener for that. So it like adds another layer of complexity. Whether or not it's useful, I don't know. It's like too much to handle at that point. I could be too complicated, but maybe it's useful in some ways. So what else? Or I mean, trying to think of the other things. It's like we talked about the Skype option. We've talked about the Zoom kind of option. It gets interesting. I mean, Zoom you can take straight from like this screen and just take out the boxes, like we said, and crop them. You can do that. And it's also, that's also useful. This is the other thing that I found out when I was experimenting with things. Because Zoom has that like virtual background thing, you don't have to rely on your collaborators to have like, oh, I'm going to put a black sheet up against the, or some sort of background. You can use the virtual background as your base. So you can just say, okay, just everybody put black or green or whatever as your virtual background. Bring the box into OBS, and then from NDI go to Isadora, and now you have like kind of a clean cutout that you can use with them being in their messy living rooms. Okay, so you're using the technology to your advantage, depending on how you want to use that.
So I have a question. I've been trying to improvise over Zoom and relating. So I'm
The
touching
boxes.
whoever's, yes, touching who's in the other box, right? So my right hand and the other person's left hand. And it never works because the recording, even if I use a different filter from elsewhere, the mirroring option doesn't work on recording. No.
Oh.
So I'm wondering, and that's fine. In improvising, you just, okay, so I'm going this way, and really it's this way, right? So when you're working through Isadora, is the mirroring actually possible? Or if you're doing live streaming, you're performing off of what you see live on the screen, and what is right is truly right, and what is left is truly left, and that's true for the other person as well, so that you can actually truly interact with each other? Or is it?
Yeah, you can do that.
Okay.
That's a great question. Just show you something. So here's our weird version of this. There's something called Flip. And Flip is just exactly what you think it is. And that is flip horizontally. Now it's mirrored, right? So now it goes in the way that you see it mirrored. So I go this way and it goes that way. We don't have a camera hooked up to here, but if you get it, so that you can control it here. And the way I've done it in the past is like, I don't want to rely on Zoom to do that for me, because it always thinks it always like it's too smart for its own good, right? Like it thinks you want it that way. You're like, no, I don't want it that way. And that's why I tend to use the OBS virtual camera, is like, I'll put all my stuff into the virtual camera the way I want to see it, or the flip reverse of it, because I know that Zoom is going to flip it. Then it's fine. And then my monitor, I have a second monitor here, which will display my Isadora out. And I just don't even look at the Zoom part, if I don't need to for that, unless it's for the other person.
That second, is that actually a third monitor? Because you already said you were using two.
Yeah.
Oh, input and output. So you're just looking at the output.
Just the output. So I know what's going on and what I'm sending out. I'm going to always look at whatever's out from Isadora as reference. And putting that monitor as close to if you're doing an improvising thing, trying to situate it so the monitor is like really close to your camera, so then your eye line is actually like where it's supposed to be, not like over here somewhere, because you're always looking at it. You're like, what's going on? I don't know, looking at the person, but you're like, no, they're over here. Yeah.
So can you just say that again for OBS? Isadora, it's called Flip, but in OBS,
There's something in OBS. Let me just check it out. I know I've tried it. I've successfully done it. Actually, you know what I've done? What is it? Control R? No. So you right click on, like, here, I'll show you again. Cool. So you right click on it, on the source. So it doesn't matter. Right now it's just a camera. So you're gonna right click on the source in the preview. Go to transform. And then you can flip horizontal, flip vertical, whatever that is. Wait, does that make sense?
But you're still not mirroring it. None of those things mirrored it. But can you, the flipping didn't mirror it. It just flipped it. Now you, I'm confused.
Yes, what I'm seeing is not what you're seeing.
Well, now you're the same. A second ago you were.
I was not. Well,
what we're seeing on your OBS.
Okay, so right now I'm not mirrored. Is that what you're seeing?
Correct.
Okay, so when I do that, what do you see?
Now, oh, you were mirrored for a second and now you're not. Oh, now your
I'm not mirrored.
Now your hand is on the other side.
Yes, correct. This is not flipped view. This is straight from camera view.
So are you holding up your left hand?
Yes, this is my left.
Okay. So that flip, okay. Got it.
Yeah, and then
because there are things that will like flip it but not mirror it. Anyway,
oh,
yes.
Okay. I don't know. Not sure.
As long as
I know that the Zoom, yeah, the Zoom automatically flips unless you tell it not to, but then it does if you're recording. So
it only does it for your own view though. Not
right, not for the recording.
Yeah.
So you have to trick your brain to thinking it, and then it's complicated.
Callie, do you know if Skype is easier with that right-left mirroring crap?
I felt like it was when I used it last time. It wasn't as smart as, and it's not like trying to think for you. It just is like, there it is. You want that? Like, not gonna put, I think they probably do have virtual backgrounds now and all sorts of other things. They're trying to up their game. So, and I haven't installed most recent versions. So I've been using OBS Ninja just because it's easier for the other person. They don't need to have an account. It's just on the web. They just kind of like go to the link. They're there, select their camera, done. But you can't get virtual cameras. I mean, you can't get virtual backgrounds in there unless they have another computer. Right. So like my webcam, I just found out this morning, had no idea, has a utility that came with it. And you can put virtual backgrounds in its own utility. So like instead of like, it would be like a version of OBS, but like for the webcam itself. So just finding all those possibilities depending on this device, that software, this, like kind of, it's all designing and putting together and testing and seeing which ones you can plug into and hope to God they work half the time. There was something said a long time ago when I first got into projection design specifically that kind of opened my mind up a little bit. And it was that in the theater, lighting has its own standards. You only have so many options of those standards. Same thing with sound. There's only so many options of sound. When you're dealing with any digital media, now it's gone because of the hybrid nature of itself, where you're dealing with computers now. So there is no real, I mean, there are standards, but there's a lot of exceptions to the rules of those standards. And so it's almost like being a computer programmer at this point, like trying to find this thing to match with this thing. There's a standard of operation. Now we got this kind of thing. Like Isadora is one of those things. The other one is QLab is another standard that are used in theater, and people are used to these things, but does not mean that the hardware is going to be standardized in the way that lighting design and sound design are. So it's a lot of playing with things and seeing what other people are doing to get things working. Yeah. No. So anything else that you guys can, I know I'm like a little under time, but I was like hoping that I was not hoping there was confusion. I was just hoping that there was some like questions I could answer for whoever else.
Kali, can you repeat the name of the feature that you were using in theater? You were calling right now Isadora, but then in theater you were using, what is the name?
QLab.
Q?
Q?
Q. Okay.
Yeah. Q. Q is that way. Yeah. And that's like it does really well with audio, QLab. It does some video, but not as complex as Isadora stuff. But it can queue up video and it can size it. And I'll do some all sorts of configuration with it.
It's like a starter video pack. I learned on QLab to video design, and Isadora is like the more advanced.
Yeah. And then you go into Touch Designer. And then I don't want to go there. I don't know.
Yeah. I'm just not asking questions because I need to rewatch this video. Like,
I know. You have to like do it and like put the things in, and then you understand it. I didn't want to it sounded more complex if I had you guys download OBS and all the rest of it, because you're going to have the same trouble that I was having, and I'm fluid in it. Love, like, my camera can only be used by one source. You're going to have to flip it back and forth. It's going to cause too much confusion, and then that's distracting. So I'm hoping that later on you can just like play a video and then just like move things around, and it works better for you. And if you have any questions, of course, like email me or whatever.
I'm actually curious how, because I've been doing the layering to put multiple people in the same box, but I've been doing it with like projectors. Like I'm starting out to do it with screen. And with the projector, it's nice because you can just flip the projector. But there's a limit to how many layers you can do because of light.
Yeah. Accumulation of light.
Yeah. And then some of the performers I was working with had very, very bright spaces, so that made it harder. But I'm curious, like, how many layers you've done successfully and had the bodies be legible as far as putting people in the same box. Like, I saw yours with 3 with all the black background.
Yeah, using as much black as possible increases your success rate in layering things, because then you have more dark space to put light space onto. If you use light space, you're just accumulating too fast, and then you're washing everything out really quickly. Are you doing like 7 or like 4?
No, I did a show which was all with projectors. Like, every performer had a projector, and we
got it.
But now, like, working with this, because I mean, projectors, most people don't have projectors. But yeah, we were doing 6 people. But I'm curious, but when you're using the black background, because that's something we were not using, and it makes total sense, are you keying out the black? Or are you just layering it all? Like, it can't all be 100%.
I can show you a version of that.
Yeah, like, I'm easier for me dealing with the transparency.
Okay. We can use this as a source. Why not? Because there's a lot of black in it. So here's a source. And hopefully it won't. I should probably get another video in here, actually, instead of trying to use my camera. Here's the other XFest. Let's put 2 XFests in one room. Let's see what happens. This one. Take the volume down to 0. Okay. Okay. So what I'm using here, just without even doing anything, is a luminance key. So I'm keying out all the black as much as I can. See when it goes away.
So you are basically like
Keying it out.
Yeah,
and
cropping
then
out and pulling
the black and then pulling up. So that means that the red shirted person is actually lit much better than the other person. It is more evenly lit than the other person. The other footage had so much. I was using LED lights and not soft boxes for the red shirted person who keeps coming in and out. That one I use soft boxes. So then there was a lot of, even my black pants get keyed out because they become gray because they're lit.
What's a soft box?
It's like those photo lights that that are
Yeah.
like big and they have a screen out in front of it, so it diffuses the light so it doesn't get hot in one spot. It evenly washes the subject. And you can, by distance, make sure that it's as even as possible. So then, you have like distance from the light to the subject and then a range that it works, with the subject moving back and forth.
So theoretically, you could do this with any number of people.
Mm-hmm. Theoretically, you just keep on putting luminance keys into, like, what you would do is you would do
into each feed.
So you would have 2 because you can't do more than 2. Yeah, and then you just do 2 more. And then you could do you can do a multi-mix, I guess. Oops. Come on. I try not to use too many projector actors. And also I've used like Effect Mixer. Let me show you that. That's kind of fun if you want like more artsy things going on. Effect Mixer is, there are different modes of it, like how each layer relates to the next one, depending. Like there's one that's maximum, which is basically everything on high. It should be 4 people. Oh, because it's the same, so it's not going to do that. This is actually 2 video feeds, but you keep doing, distilling it down to 2, distilling it down to 2, distilling it down to 2.
Kali, you were saying that you were keying out the black.
There we go.
For
yeah.
the red shirt, shot.
Mm-hmm.
You were getting out the black, but then you did a mask for the pants because the pants are so black.
It's actually doing a good job with the black because it's not quite, they're black pants, but they're lit with the light in the space.
Okay.
So they're not perceived as black, they're perceived as like a gray because there's light hitting them.
Oh, so then you just getting out just of the really black.
Yeah, something that, like, if you can get your background not lit, really black, and then your subject, even with the hair, get that lit so it becomes a little bit lighter than the black in the background, then you're successful in keying things out because, like your eyebrows and your eyes and eyelashes and whatever else that's kind of in there, you're more successful in getting those lit that's different than the background. you're going to be better. It's loading.
Thank you. That really helps.
Yeah.
I will go back and watch it and recreate it and maybe use you.
Yeah, no problem. And then, like, I should probably save the patches, but I just kind of throw them together. So if you need the patches, let me know. I'll send them to you. All right. Well, if there's not any more questions, I'm so glad that you guys are all here and to discuss this, because like I like exploring it too, and a lot of the ways we explore is through teaching it. See what other people are doing. Like, how do you understand this and understand that? It's very exciting for me too.
Can we bother you like in the next?
Mm-hmm.
A lot to say. Callie.
Yes, please. I'd rather you bother me than getting frustrated. If I have like something I can share, it's fine.
Yeah, because at least me, the frustration, just like I can eat a tree or something like that, because it gets fascination, like at the most.
What is that? A Chilean? Eat a tree?
No.
No, it's not. It's your own poetic.
No, yeah, because we are so isolated that the frustration just can be released in, like, at the wall or at the tree or whatever you find.
Okay.
To bother you, because it's a lot. I mean, it's a world, it's a language to work with.
Yeah, and I would just say, like, baseline, you're not gonna make anything explode, so go ahead and like make things break, because that's how you find things too. Sometimes you're like, why didn't it work? That's a question. Like, to answer. Can I do it again and make it break again? Ah, that's great too. That's information. Okay, well, lovely seeing all you folks. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's been great. Thank you.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Callie.
you.